Welcome back again. You've seen a familiar face now, hopefully. So today I've got the 80 parked up in the garage, and I went and brought some 6mm plate. I'm going to try and do my own flipped arm kit. I've gone and undone a few things just to check clearance wires and whatnot. I've watched some videos and I've done a little bit of research into it to see what the go is. But yeah, my panhard has the little, so it's obviously level, and it has the kick in it before it gets to the last bolt. I've seen other videos where people were cutting the brackets where it mounted down there and raising it up, where I've just tested it, taken it out and flipped it over and put the rather than the crease going up, going under, and it still looks like it runs parallel with the steering arm or the tie rod, which is what everyone says. You sort of want to try and run them as level as possible. The other thing that sort of looks like could possibly be in my way is brake lines. I just loosened the brackets holding the brake lines. They've got quite a bit of movement in them. So we're going to go and loosen them, take this radius arm out, cut a little bit of the factory mount, and then have a look at it. And what I've done, I've done a bit of playing around. Just got some cardboard that I'm going to make my mount up out of and transfer it to my flat bit of steel that I got, and hopefully see how it all pans out from there. I did notice when I was just under there just then, one of my factory mounts actually has a crack in it anyway. So even if I don't get this done flipped arm wise, I've got to repair that. So I had to cut the factory radius arm mount off, so we're pretty much going with it now. We're running with it. There's not really much else we can do now. We've just got it all sort of sitting in there, the radius arm just sitting on it, so now I can sort of make my mount up. So we've just got our first one marked up on my plate here. Just using paint texture. I'm going to cut it out, go put it over there, make sure it sits a bit better, and polish it, anything out I need to. I'll spin this around and give you a look, but just what I'm trying to do at the moment, I'm just trying to get my caster correct on the top of the kingpin bearing. So I'm going for about 4 degrees, which then should give me good driving and steering stability. So we cut the panhard bracket off. I got about an hour and a half before work, or before I got to go. So I was just messing around, making sure my cast is correct, which it is. I got some reference points on the back of the diff and measured to the radius arm bolt to make sure I'm centered with the existing one. And then yeah, I've just checked my angle. I'm about 3.2 degrees, which is great. I've just got to take the radius arm out and mark my bolt hole for the back of them. Then I can actually weld them on, and this side's complete. Then it's just the other side. At the moment, I've set my caster angle. I got 3.2 degree on the kingpin. I've seen another thing saying 7 degrees on the bottom of the diff. So the bottom of the diff has a flat spot. Because I still got a bit of the existing bracket there, I measured from that to make sure it was parallel with what the car and the diff was. And I had, I think it was like 6.8 or something, which is pretty close to that 7. And then yeah, with my 3.2 degrees on my kingpin. So we've got our weld through primer on now, which is lovely. I'm just going to go put my tie rod in and my panhard in, just to make sure everything's in the right spot. Just loosely do everything up before I go and tack it. We just want to... make sure it all fits. Yeah, it's a little bit fiddly, like especially doing it up under the car here. If you got the diff out, it'd be a bit easier to weld. But we officially have our first one in, bolted. So I got the panhard back in, steering arm, because none of it's in the way for this one. So I'm hoping I sort of did the hard one first. But what we did, we tacked it a few times, good couple welds across the top, took the arm out, welded bits and pieces on the inside as well. So then that way I've sort of welded both sides with the factory mounts. They're just pretty much from the center of the diff down to the center of the diff on the back is just welded on the outside. The inside's not welded, so fingers crossed that's strong enough, and there's only really one way to find out, and that's lose the front diff from under the car. So we'll take this other radius arm out now and start chopping this mount off and getting our new one. Start messing around with the shapes and the cutouts. So that actually sits very nicely there. Like that just sleeves straight over, like nearly perfectly. As you can see. So that one we're going to transfer straight over. And then the second one, the brake line's just in the way. That actually sits pretty good too. Yeah, it sits pretty nice as well. So we're going to transfer that to two of them. And then worst case I can just cut them out a bit more. But yeah, so actually worked awesome. So as you can see, I've got my two brackets just sitting there now with the radius arm in, just to sort of get my alignment so I can twist it this way if need be. But I've just been running off the existing mount from below, following them up, if we get that just right there. And then I've just been using a little piece of like the old radius arm mount, which is about 6mm, and just sitting it under the radius arm on the diff. So there's a bit of clearance between the radius arm and the diff. And then what I've been doing is, if I hold that like that, so that's where that wants to sit, I just lift this bracket up and I stick my paint texture through the hole to mark where my radius arm bolt is. And then I do that on both fronts, put the bolt in so it doesn't move, and then do the same on the back, just lift one corner up. I'll show you when I do it. Lift one corner up, run that through, mark it, and then same on the other. So we'll do this here. Paint texture, just very gently lift this up so it doesn't move anything. Find my hole. Oh no. So my diff pumpkin's in the way here. Same concept, see now I've got clearance, and just try and hold it pretty straight and just give it a little touch. So then if I put that back down, lift that one off. I've got, it might be hard to see under here, there's a tiny little mark there, which is the center. So what I'll do is I'll get my paint texture and mark it with that so it's a bit brighter. That's my first one. And then now I'll go do this same thing to the second one. This time I can use this paint texture because it fits pretty much perfect through the hole. So it's the same diameter as the bolt. Which, in case anyone's wondering, I've been doing 16mm holes. So now you can see that that one's there too. So we'll go drill them two out, put it back on, put my bolt through just so it sits there. And then softly bring that one back down. Lift this one up. Cool. And that's that. So now we'll take the bolt out, drill them in, and then what we'll do is, before we weld it, I'll just softly bolt them together against it and just put a tack and then take the whole arm out. We got our U-pole copper weld through primer on it. We've just let that dry for a little bit. We're going to go and throw a tack on each corner, take the arm completely out, fully weld it just slowly without putting way too much heat through it. So I'll set this up and you can watch the process through this. So that's it guys, that's the end of another video. Flipped arms done in the 80 series. Now the reason I'm filming an ending like this is I've left it for a week I'm driving it on the road just to give you a review of what I actually think of doing flipped arms. Way more comfier in response to bump steer. When you hit a little bump on the road, it doesn't want to sort of shoot off to a side. That's probably due to the caster being corrected. Also the softness of the ride. So what I got on some videos was, and some reviews, is looking at it, instead of your radius arm being down on an angle, what happens is when you hit a bump, it tends to shoot the shock load back up into your chassis, which makes it very uncomfy. Now the radius arm's very level. So now that it's very level, what's it causing to do, rather than shooting it back into your chassis, it's just causing it to go up and down. It's a lot comfier of a ride. Flex, little bit more, but not much out of it. So if you're gonna do it for flex, it's not a massive massive gain, unless you do like the Kinsella's sort of custom kit. They've got a couple different mounting styles, so then that way it allows more flex. Overall, the gains you gain out of it are better. Clearance is massive, obviously. That's one of the biggest things. Now, I hope you're liking these videos because we're pumping through them. Like, comment, subscribe, help support me. So please get on there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell, and I hope you enjoy these. I'll see you on the next one.